What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Shadowlands video. How's everybody doing? Grab a coffee, sit back, relax. Let's talk about some recent changes for Enhancement Shaman that are coming in 9.2. There was some huge news announced on Wowhead, and a bunch of different articles came out for different people, but they were all kind of consolidated and put into one big article on Wowhead for us. So there's some really awesome stuff that I want to talk about, some baseline changes that are coming to the spec, and on top of that, some interesting new builds that we haven't totally talked about in my build analysis for Enhanced. So let's let's go over that. That's what we're going to talk about today. It's going to be most of the video. We're going to talk about what's on the Wowhead article, and then I'm going to show two of the builds that are explained there. And yeah, that's the plan. So yeah, grab your coffee, kick back, relax. We're gonna get to the dummies in a second. Let me just switch over to the Wowhead article here. So this is it here. I'm going to say right off the bat that this was created on Wowhead, of course, by WordUp, who is the Enhancement Shaman writer for Wowhead. This is his page over here. This is the Enhancement Shaman stuff. He's the author of this. This is obviously not coming from me. I'm just taking a look at what he's posted, and we're going to try some of his builds out. So he's the writer for Enhancement Shaman for Wowhead. So go check out his stuff. He's got a YouTube channel over here, and he's just the main head writer. So go check out all of his stuff. He's awesome. He tends to know what he's talking about. So he has talked about all the changes that are coming in here, and it's really cool. So let's start off with the tier set bonus. We know what it does. It summons wolves, and then the wolves get a Stormbringer. Cool. So there's some baseline changes that have obviously happened, and you've seen some of them in some of my videos, but we're just going to make sure we cover them all. So Lava Lash will now spread Flame Shock. You have one Flame Shock on an enemy. You press Lava Lash on them, it'll hit 3 additional targets with Flame Shock for a total of 4 Flame Shocks going out. Okay, which then we can detonate with Fire Nova, whatever you want. It gives you all those other bonuses. So that's very cool. This is a baseline change. This is permanent. This is going into the next expansion. It's amazing. Like, we've needed this change for a really, really, really long time, and it's unfortunate that we haven't got it until now. But let's move my phone over there. But the reality is that it's here now, and we can be happy about it. So that's there. Wind Fury Totem does have a change. It doesn't actually matter. It doesn't change our gameplay. It's not a nerf to Wind Fury Totem. This is exactly how Wind Fury Totem has been. It just wasn't in the tooltip. So okay, let's keep going. Conduits. Here's one of the biggest changes for this expansion. This is not going to carry on into the next expansion, but one of the borrowed power systems is that the conduits have all been like massively buffed. I'm going to get to them in a second when there's a consolidated part. Chain Lightning, reducing the cooldown of Crash Lightning, that already happened. I'm not sure why it's written in here. They might have just added it to like level 52 or something instead of a different level. So no change there. Flame Shock is capped to 6 targets. Very cool. Frost Shock does more damage. We'll get to that in a second. And of course, Chain Harvest has its cooldown reduced by crits from Flame Shock, which is we were showing off in the Skybreakers build that we played the other day. So let's get to this for a second. Happy or sad? He talks here about like what I mentioned at the beginning is that this is mid-expansion spec changes, baseline spec changes. That does not happen ever. Like, it just doesn't happen. Blizzard always waits until the end of an expansion, the start of a new expansion, to like dramatically change the specs. So this is exciting. Like, I feel like this is part of Blizzard's new look right now, that they're communicating more in the forums. They're communicating with every single Wowhead or Blizzard post they put out that talks about changes on the PTR and stuff. They are communicating with us. They are listening to players' feedback about horrible tier set bonuses and things that are bugged, except for Rep Paladins. Rep Paladins. Hopefully they get there soon. But the point is, Blizzard's doing a much better job talking to us and responding and making changes. And these baseline changes mid-expansion, amazing. This is really, really good stuff. So excited to see that. Here's the summary of everything. Lava Lash spreads Flame Shock. Frost Shock damage up by 40%. That is insane. Okay? So it goes from 45% spell damage to 63% spell damage, just baseline. Flame Shock's capped at 6. Feral Spirits doesn't occupy a totem slot anymore. Important, because we're going to be getting a lot of dogs in this new patch. And if they occupy totem slots, then there's a cap on the number of totems you can have. I think it's like 6. So if you had like Cap Totem down and Wind Fury Totem down, and you were putting like Earthbind totem down, that's 3 out of your 6. And then if you were trying to summon Feral Spirits and get more than 3 Feral Spirits, you wouldn't be able to. So anyway, that's all gone. Ice Strike correctly triggers Flame Tongue Weapon. Doesn't really matter. We're not using Ice Strike still. Sundering can trigger both Flame Tongue Weapon and Stormbringer. I thought it did both of those before, but maybe it was the Flame Tongue Weapon it wasn't triggering. So that's a good bonus there. Here's the systems that it's buffing. So these are the temporary systems that we have in Shadowlands. This is not going to carry through the next expansion, obviously. Chain Harvest getting its cooldown reduced by Flame Shock. We talked about that. Vesper Totem can trigger off Earth Shield. Not really super important. Focus Lightning. This is ridiculous. It went from increasing our damage by 1% per stack to 5% per stack. And that just goes up. Like, we're going to look at these for a sec. So, look at this thing. 5% of the baseline. Right now, I'm sitting at this right here. My main, my shaman on the real servers, it's 3.5% per stack, which is 17.5% more damage to your next spender. When you get to 9.2, it's 50% instead of 17.5%. That's insane. That's just a straight up damage boost for us, and that's just going to get better the later we get into the expansion. This is crazy. This is crazy stuff. Magma Fist went down at the early ranks, this conduit, but it gets higher at the later ranks, which we're already into. Most of us, if you've been playing, you probably have a 22.3% or a 21.7%. That'll become a 28%, a 30%. It'll just get better. That's the crit for Lava Lash. Unruly Winds, the Doom Winds conduit, of course. It's lowering at the early levels. The conduit doesn't give as much, but later it's going to give way more. So, and then the Chill to the Core, this is basically doubling, I think. Frost Shock, instead of it being like 30%, you can get up to 70. Yeah, it's doubling at the higher ranks. The higher ranks had 35% a chance to generate 2 stacks of Mist Ribbon. Now it's going to be 72%. So those are all just straight up buffs to our damage in this expansion. Very, very exciting. Here's the tier set stuff. Yeah, okay, so we're going to move down to here. These are kind of his Word Up talks about the different covenants and how they're getting directly changed in 9.2. Like, what does this mean for each covenant? We're going to focus on Venthyr today, this one, because the 2 builds that we're talking about are from Venthyr, but there's 4 builds that he talks about, okay? There's 2 Venthyr ones, and there's 2 other ones. The single target one for Witch Doctor Wolfbones, I'm really interested in testing. The Necrolord plus Primal Lava Actuators, I'm like, no idea what's going on with that one. I need to go and check it out. So we'll do that tomorrow. That's going to be what he says is a funnel build. Obviously, Witch Doctor Wolfbones is a single target, premier single target build. You want it in a raid. And then there's 2 AoE builds, okay? 2 Venthyr AoE builds. So we've got a burst uncapped AoE one with Doom Winds. Then we've got a Skybreakers, which we already saw in my plus 15 miss, if you guys have watched that video, right? So Skybreakers is like a sustained, all your Flame Shocks are always critting all the time, and they're reducing the cooldown of Chain Harvest. Very cool. That's that build. Now, we're going to test both of these ones out today. We're going to take a look at them, okay? Because I think that they're very cool. So let's check the Doom Winds one out first. What's the goal here? Well, what he talks about here is that Doom Winds was a 1-minute uncapped AoE. Usually you paired it with Ascendance. So if you had every 3 minutes, you would have a Doom Winds plus Ascendance pop off, and you would do ridiculous amounts of AoE damage and probably pull threat off your tank and probably die like I did several times. So that's what we used to do. Now he's basically saying you can take Doom Winds and have a 1-minute burst window, and then in between your 1-minute burst window here and your 1-minute burst window here, in this middle zone, you're going to fill your AoE with Chain Harvest and Hailstorm. That's how you're going to make up for your lack of anything outside of your Doom Winds window. Like when you're done with Doom Winds, you don't really do a whole lot as Enhancement Shaman. So he's basically saying like, you're going to have Doom Winds, and it's going to be good, but you're not like 900% invested into Doom Winds. You're going to be shoring up some of the weaknesses of it over here with the Chain Harvest, Flame Shock spreading for free, Hailstorm combination. So this is the really cool interaction here. Both Flame Shock and Frost Shock share a cooldown, right? So if you cast Flame Shock, you can't cast Frost Shock. What that means that's why this build is so interesting, is because you can get free Flame Shock spreading with Chain Harvest. It's going to add a Flame Shock to everybody it hits, up to 5, 6, 5, something like that. What is this? 5. So you're going to get 5 Flame Shocks for free, and then you can just spend your Maelstrom and then use Frost Shock with Hailstorm. So you're getting the Frost Shock bonus and the Flame Shock bonus in one. You used to have to sort of choose, right? Because they share a cooldown. So very cool interaction. So here's how this looks. I'm gonna just explain it here. We have Doom Winds, 1 minute Doom Winds cooldown. You're gonna press Crash Lightning and Storm Strike, boom, 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 boom for a minute. Then to shore up the AoE weakness outside of Doom Winds, you're gonna press Chain Harvest. Plus, you're gonna spread a bunch of Flame Shocks. You can keep spreading them with Lava Lash, and you're gonna detonate all your Maelstrom infused stuff with Hailstorm Frost Shocks. Okay, that's that last piece there is the Hailstorm at the end. So you kind of have like Doom Winds, Chain Harvest, Fire, Flame Shock, and then you have Frost Shock in the middle. What I'm trying to show you here is that there's a lot of moving parts with this build, and it's actually quite frankly, it's very difficult to pull off. What he suggests here at the very end is you should go with General Draven and take the Built for War Conduit, which I think I agree with. Or you can go Nadia and take either the Chain Harvest one or Chilled to the Core. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you, we're going to take Nadia because I can't unlock General Draven right now, so it doesn't matter. We're going to take Nadia. We are going to take Chilled to the Core. We're not going to take the Chain Harvest one. This is not a Chain Harvest focused build like the next one will be. So we're going to take Chilled to the Core. See what that can do for us. We're going to take Focus Lightning, and we're going to take Unruly Wind. So this is us testing the 40% boost that we got to Frost Shock, right? Frost Shock baseline is just doing a lot more damage now. And here's how this is going to kind of work. On pull, we're going to cast our dogs. We're going to get 5 stacks of Maelstrom built up. We're going to dump that into Chain Harvest, a big juice Chain Harvest. That gets this part of our Chain Harvest Flame Shock stuff. That's done. That part's done. Because we just used a Maelstrom infused Chain Harvest, we're going to press Frost Shock, get that part done. Then we're going to go into our Doom Winds window. Once we're done the Doom Winds window, we're going to go back to the Frost Shock gameplay until Chain Harvest comes off cooldown. Then we're going to do the Chain Harvest thing again and then back into Frost Shock until Doom Winds comes back off cooldown again. Do you see what I'm saying? We're going to rotate through these 3 different ideas. Now, it's a lot to keep up in your head. I've practiced this 4 or 5 times now, and I still screw it up because it's just the way it is. We are going to switch this trinket to here. Let's just do that because I want that better. Okay, so follow me here. Doom Winds legendary, Chain Harvest legendary here. Here we go. We're going to go Dogs into Crash, Storm Strike, Sundering, Chain Harvest. Then we're going to detonate with Frost Shock. Then we go Doom Winds. Okay, then we're going to go Doom Winds window. Boom, 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 boom. Doom Winds, Doom Winds, Doom Winds. Keep pressing Storm Strike. Once we're out of Doom Winds, 2, 1. Okay, we're out of Doom Winds now. Now we're going into the Frost Shock cleave, and we're maintaining our Flame Shocks on the target. Okay. Oh, I just pressed it twice. I'm so bad, guys. It's so hard. I'm telling you, there's so many things to think about. Doom Winds is coming in 30 seconds. Frost Shock, Lightning Bolt, or Chain Lightning, sorry. Crash, Lava, Flame Shock. We're doing so many different things here. It's a little bit disorienting, I'm not going to lie. You have to keep track of your Frost Shock. Then you have to spread... okay, here comes Chain Harvest. Okay. Oh, I pressed that. I don't know why I pressed that. That was a big lull downtime there. Okay. Hit this. Frost Shock. Doom Winds is back. We're going to go Doom Winds into our window. Press this. Press this. Okay, and we're out of the Doom Winds window. We're really laggy here. I'm sorry for the lag. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, that's kind of it. We're going to get one more Chain Harvest off here. I got the Nadia haste buff. That's kind of cool. Wolves. Chain Harvest. Got a crit on that. This is what you would do, right? This is kind of it. For those of you guys who are really good at the Frost Shock playstyle, I applaud you. It's just not my cup of tea. But I understand why it's good. And certainly the damage of it is gotten better, right? Get one more Chain Harvest off here. We'll get one more Doom Winds off as well. Oh my gosh, the lag is crazy. It's so bad. Okay, here we go. Do this, into Doom Winds. into this, into Frost Shock, Doom Winds stuff. 3, 2, 1. Out of Doom Winds. Okay. That's that. Okay. So, I played that poorly, I know. But we need to just show you the... I need to show you the over-under here. So, Wind Fury attack. At the top, of course, because of Doom Winds. But also, Frost Shock. Boom. It's way up there as well. And Chain Harvest and Chain Lightning. Like, this is interesting. The damage spread is interesting. If you do a normal Doom Winds Ascendance, 9.1.5 build, this just looks like Wind Fury attack is doing like 30% of your damage, right? So this is interesting, and it's really cool, and it works. Here's my issue with it, though. You have Doom Winds here, and you're tracking Frost Shock, and you're tracking when your Chain Harvest is coming off cooldown. You're tracking your Flame Shock dots. You're trying to spread them with Lava Lash. You got the Doom Winds thing happening here. Then you have the Chain Harvest Flame Shock thing happening here. Then you have the Frost Shock happening with your Maelstrom Spenders. It's just a lot. It's just a lot to keep track of. And like, I know that people have better trackers. I don't have a tracker that works on the PTR right now, but I know people have better trackers like in the middle of their screen. So I understand that you guys are probably way better at it, and that's great. And if you can handle this build, then go for it. I just think it's spreading you a little bit too thin. Like, it's a little crazy how many different avenues we're going down here. Look at our spread of damage. Wind Fury attack, Frost Shock, Chain Harvest to shadow damage, Chain Lightning, fire damage with Flame Shock. It's just like, there's like so many sources of damage, which is kind of cool. Of course, this is also a build that utilizes a little bit more of our mastery, right? Because we get frost damage being buffed. So this is a very like even keel spread of damage, and it's a very interesting way to play the build. What does it offer you? Doom Winds is going to give you that solid not sustain, but burst AoE uncapped cooldown. Every minute you get uncapped AoE for that 10 seconds that Doom Winds is down. Very huge. In the interim, in the middle, in between your Doom Winds, you have a more consistent AoE profile with Frost Shock because of Hailstorm, right? That's what you're looking at. And then when Chain Harvest is off cooldown, you're just pressing it and getting all the free Flame Shocks and spreading them with Lava Lash, and you don't ever have to press Flame Shock ever again. You can just press Frost Shock instead. That's kind of what we're talking about. I think the single target damage would be okay because of Doom Winds on bosses also is a solid cooldown to be able to use on bosses, and on tyrannical weeks you can use it multiple times because it's only a 1 minute cooldown. So I think it's got like an even keel spread of damage, and it works. It actually kind of works decently well. Okay, let's go back to the article really quick. I'm gonna move this over here, and we're gonna look at the next build. Let's close this one. Let's go to Skybreakers. So we've done Skybreakers. What's the point of Skybreakers? Like it said, it's sustained AoE. So your Flame Shock's at 50% crit. This is a Chain Harvest build. We're going full fire here. So we're going Hot Hand, Fire Nova, and same Elemental Spirits. So let's switch back to the game. Let's switch our talents up here. Let's go Fire Nova, Hot Hand, Lashing Flames. Fire Nova is right there. We're good. Okay, back to the article really quick. Let me read one more thing for you. Let's scroll down. What are the notes that he's got up for us here? Talent builds are pretty non-negotiable. You're going to be tab target casting Lava Lash to apply Lashing Flames, especially during Hot Hand, as much as possible while using Chain Harvest and Fire Nova on cooldown. Those are your AoE buttons now, right? Chain Harvest, Fire Nova. You can play this with any Soulbind, but Theatar is best thanks to Wasteland Propriety, giving your uptime to your party, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he says, is this good for uncapped AoE? No, of course not, because we don't have Doom Winds, which is the only way that we can accomplish uncapped AoE. Okay, back to the gameplay. So we got our talents set up. Let me show you Theatar really quick. We're going to switch to Theatar. I already have them set up. The conduits you're going to run, I've got Chain Harvest here, because this is a Chain Harvest build now, right? 50% crit on your Flame Shocks. Your Chain Harvest cooldown is going to go way down really fast. So you need this. We're going to run Wasteland Propriety, which is 6% versatility every time you Chain Harvest for 14 seconds. You might be able to have 100% uptime on this if you can get the cooldown of Chain Harvest to like a 15-second cooldown. I don't have enough crit to probably make that possible, but that's the goal. Then you're going to always run Focus Lightning because this is ridiculous now. 50% more damage, especially because Chain Harvest can get Maelstrom infused. You're going to have a 50% stronger Chain Harvest just from this conduit. Like the Maelstrom effect itself already is going to give you 20. It's going to double the damage of this. So 100% more plus 50% more. This is 150% more, and you're going to be casting it way more often. So that's the setup. You're going to get party favors. I already have. I drink my tea. Where is it? Oh my goodness. Monitors are flicking there. My tea is 5 minutes off cooldown. We're just going to run without the tea. Doesn't matter. So you would obviously have the tea, but that's the setup there, okay? Again, this is a chain harvest build. So how many times did we cast chain harvest? 4 times in the last fight, and it was a 2.5-minute fight. Okay, 4 times. Let me get the timer going. It's a 2.5-minute fight, and we only cast it 4 times. So with this build, let's make sure we go Skyman. Okay, we have it here. Flame Shock, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we got it. This is a different... We're not worried about Wind Fury Totem, so just plop it down. We're going to start with dogs. We're going to get 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon into Chain Harvest, into a Detonation with Fire Nova, and then you just cycle through that. Here we go. Ready? Everything else ready? We're good? Here we go. Sundering, Chain Harvest, Detonate, boom. Spread with Lava Lash. This is all about Lava Lash now, if we can get it up. Look at the Chain Harvest cooldown. It's going to come back. We're going to detonate with Fire Nova. I probably did that too slow. Haven't got a Hot Hand proc. So we are tab targeting. Here we go. Hot Hand proc. Watch this. Okay, tab target to apply the Lashing Flames debuff. Chain Harvest. When it comes back, detonate. That's what you want to do. You get your Hot Hand window, and you're going to tab target to get Lashing Flames on everything. Here we go. Lashing Flames debuff there. Tab target. Lashing Flames here. Crash. Lashing Flames detonate. And Sundering. And Lashing Flames doing. Chain Harvest is back again. Imagine that. I didn't even press my timer. I'm very sorry about that. I'll figure it out. It'll be okay. Detonate. Lava Lash. I can't even talk. You don't ever want to press Flame Shock, even if it's there. Probably just not a good idea. Detonate with Fire Nova. Chain Harvest is back. Okay, we got a Hot Hand. Tap target. And tap target again. And tap target again. And detonate. And tap target again. Okay, keep going. We'll do one more round of stuff. Here we go. That into this. One more set of wolves. And we go detonate. If we get a Hot Hand proc, we'll be very happy. There we go. We got one. Okay, tap target. Tap target. Tap target one more time, then detonate, then Chain Harvest. Tab target, Chain Harvest. There we go. That's it. Okay, what was the... Look at that damage. Holy cow. Almost 2 minutes there. I didn't get to 2.5. Shoot, I should have went a bit longer, but that's okay. You can see the pattern, right? In the 2-minute fight, we had 6 casts of Chain Harvest. In the other fight, which was 2.5 minutes, we only had 4 casts of Chain Harvest. So I think it's safe to say in the next 30 seconds, we would get at least 1 more cast of Chain Harvest off. So it would have been 7, probably closer to 8. 8 casts of Chain Harvest versus 4. It's literally double, right? Look at the damage. This did 15k. This did 18 in a 0.3. So the damage profile, very different. We're looking at Flame Shocks plus Chain Harvest and then a bit of Fire Nova stuff going on down here. So why do I think this build is actually better? Here's why I think Skybreakers is a little bit better. This build, the Doomwinds build, Doomwinds in general, moving into 9.2 is much, much harder to execute. And here's why. The priority on Lava Lash has gone through the roof. It is so important to press Lava Lash now. And it's because of the last sentence. Look at the last sentence on this description. Lava Lash will spread Flame Shock to 3 nearby targets. It's so much free damage that we didn't get before. You had to manually cast Flame Shock over here and Flame Shock over there and Flame Shock over there. And then if you wanted to do a Lashing Flames build, you had to like find those targets and then get the Lashing Flames. So it was just so painful. Now you press 1 Flame Shock, you press 1 Lava Lash, and you have 4 Flame Shocks. That change alone has made the fire build actually viable, not just viable, but I think better. We're going from 15k AoE sustain to 18k. Now, does Doom Winds have no value? Of course not. The burst window is amazing. If you want to burst a pack every 1 minute, that's great. You have your Doom Winds burst with Wind Fury attack. Then for the AoE, for the rest of the AoE, the sustained AoE, for the rest of the dungeon, in between your Doom Winds windows, you have Chain Harvest plus Flame Shock, and you can spread them with Lava Lash, and then you're detonating. You're not detonating, sorry. You're consuming all your Maelstrom with Frost Shock in the middle. That's this build. You can see the damage profile is very, very spread out. I probably didn't play it very well, but you can see the potential here is pretty cool. You get to double dip. You get to press Frost Shock, and you get the Flame Shocks for free. The execution of this build, though, is incredibly difficult in my mind. It's so hard to be like, okay, my Doom Winds window is coming back. I gotta get ready. Make sure my Storm Strike and Crash Lightning are on cooldown. Okay, Chain Harvest just came off cooldown. I gotta press Chain Harvest when I've got 5 seconds of Maelstrom so that it spreads my Flame Shocks, and then I need to like continue to spread my Flame Shocks with Lava Lash. Oh, I got 5. I just pressed Chain Lightning with Maelstrom infused Chain Lightning. I must press or Frost Shock now to get the benefit of the hailstorm buff that we were running. Like, oh, my brain is just absolutely melting trying to run this build. So if you guys can pull it off, all the more power to you. But this build, I think it just does more damage, first of all. Second of all, the ease of execution is so easy, guys. It's so much easier to run this build. It just is. It just is. On top of that, with this build, you can run Theatar, which like is no joke, man. You get Soothing Shade, 550 mastery. It's all fire damage, man. That's what we're doing. It's all fire damage. You get a huge benefit there. I mean, the Soulbinds are probably whatever, but I think that that's a really cool bonus, and the T is really good too. And the versatility buff that you had. Let's see what we had on Wasteland Propriety. Actually, let's look at this. This is a great little thing to look at. Wasteland Propriety was up for almost 70% of that fight. We had 6% more versatility for almost 70% of that fight. So there's some really cool, things in here. But here's the bottom line. In Mythic Plus in particular, the ease of execution of a build is something we don't talk about a lot, but it is incredibly important to understand. Doom Winds says, here's a whole bunch of damage in a 10-second window. If you mess up that 10-second window, you're screwed. You do no damage. Now, with this new iteration of Doom Winds, you get a little bit more AoE with Hailstorm and Chain Harvest, Flame Shock spreading. You get a little bit more damage profile. It's not all into the Doom Winds window anymore. But if you mess up the Doom Winds window, the bulk of your damage is gone. Maybe 50%, 60% of your damage is gone. This build, the Skybreakers, doesn't care about that at all. It's always doing sustained AoE damage. There's nothing to mess up. It's so easy to execute. You press Chain Harvest on cooldown, and you continue to spread the Flame Shocks with Lava Lash, period. You wait for your Hot Hand procs, and you use them. And you tab target through enemies that have Flame Shock. Guess what? Everybody has Flame Shock on them now. You don't have to like manually try to find people that you put Flame Shocks on. You can just get the Lashing Flames buff all the time now. So that's the whole build. You put Flame Shocks out with Chain Harvest, you detonate them with Fire Nova, and then you try to get your Lashing Flames debuff going. That's it. That's like the whole build. It's not like Doom Winds and then Chain Harvest and then Frost Shock, which is just infinitely more complicated in my mind. So that's where I think the value of Skybreakers really goes right through the roof here, is that this is a very simple, easy to execute, sustained AoE build, and I think it works incredibly well. So that's it, guys. That's the article. If you want to find this, it's on Wowhead. It just came out like today. Word Up put it out. He's the author. Check out this if you're looking for sort of all the benefits that we've gotten recently, and then some of the builds. Here's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. Okay, we're gonna do the Necrolord build. I have no idea what that one's gonna be like. Funnel sounds pretty cool, and then we're gonna try the single target build on the raid dummy over here in Borealis. So we are going to run over to this single target guy, and we're going to try him out right here, this guy. So I'm excited to do that. I'm really excited to see what that build is. I'm excited to see maybe what the Necrolord build is all about, because that looks really, really cool. So that's it, guys. Those are the two builds that I wanted to show you from Word Up, and let's check out these other two builds tomorrow. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.